the amount of assets on that on the Caribbean side, the amount of rhetoric and preparation that the Venezuelans are showcasing and displaying. I'm on a bunch of Venezuelan blogs and signal groups and stuff like that, so I get to see some of the missile placements on the seaside that they're showcasing, some of the drilling that they're doing with the local populace. I think they're seeing something that is coming. And Maduro, doing all of these public appearances and events at hotels, which is kind of strange for him. He used to be more secure about it, but it makes sense. The U.S. is not going to assassinate him in the middle of a crowd, and specifically in a hotel where international people are staying at. So he's moving, and I think the U.S. knows exactly where he is. He's just probably surrounding himself with people.
You mentioned earlier about Colombia being more of a threat. Why is that?
The president is openly hostile against the United States. I think Colombia just lost its U.S. certification that the United States gives countries, and it's whole. There's a resurgence of violence in the region. We just saw the elimination of like the 11 or 12 special operators were killed in a helicopter, Black Hawk, with a drone. An $11 million weapons platform was eliminated with a drone that would cost less than $300 to make and fly.
If you're into quality gear, you need TacPack, a monthly subscription box loaded with tactical gear from the top brands like Battle Arms Development, 9line, 511, and more. You can choose from TacPack Standard, $59.95 shipped with $90 to $120 worth of products, or TacPack Plus, $139.95 shipped with $240 to $300 worth of product. This September, TacPack Plus is stacked with over $330 worth of gear, including Battle Arms Development, 9line, and Next Level Armament. Use code IRONCLAD at TacPack.com for a free $70 tactical gift, pushing your value past $400. TacPack, gear you'll actually use.
I want to thank our partners over at Ammo Squared. They've built what they call America's Ammunition Reserve. Basically, this is an ammo savings account. You can sign up, pick from more than 70 different calibers. You can set an auto-buy budget and either choose a shipping schedule, or you can just let your personal reserve grow. Over time, your ammo stacks up and it's stored for free in their climate-controlled facilities in Texas and Idaho until you are ready to ship. There are no minimums, there's no extra fees. It works whether you have a small budget or you just don't want to drop a few grand all at once. Thank you so much, Ammo Squared, for providing this cool service and for supporting the show.
I didn't read further into that. I did see that. I did share my thoughts on that. But was it identified who was at fault for that?
It was a guerrilla force basically that funds itself by some of the drug plantations that it has there. So these were government operators basically there doing drug interdiction, and they got down from the sky. So there's conflict there. Colombia, as Venezuela, as Mexico are all experimenting with the socialism aspect of things. So they're all on the same team, which then would, if you're the United States, you're seeing a pattern there. So that's why I'm saying that I'm projecting that these openly hostile countries towards the United States are probably going to be on a list of some sort. And again, if you're utilizing the cartel designation as a reference, and substances being put into the United States as a clear and present danger to the security of the United States, you see Colombia, Venezuela, and Mexico pop up in the forefront of places that you would probably utilize that sword directly towards.
They all were working together in some capacity, right? That's kind of how with the cartel, at least, not Mexico's state, but the cartels all working together.
Yeah, the cartels have a direct tie to everything that happens in Colombia, and Colombia has its exploding cartel organizations and presence. I think everything is moving towards land-based operations as far as moving substance into the United States. And realistically, if we look at this directly, the issue and the war against fentanyl, um, as it's being kind of like talked about, a lot of these substances are not coming from Canada or through the mail in various ways, shapes, and forms. That's why we're not seeing a direct effect on some of these direct action operations against some of these drug boats going on. That might be one reason. Another reason is technology. One thing we haven't heard a lot about, but there's definitely a lot of chatter about it in my circles, are autonomous submarine delivery vehicles, which are we just as well as we just witnessed kind of the versioning of drone warfare when it comes to like drones in the sky. The Ukrainians also came up with a bunch of very interesting advancements in drone water operations and underwater operations. So a lot of those technologies are making their way back to places like Colombia. And Colombia is an interesting space, and I'll mention this because you've had a few people on kind of talking about some of the same issues. I don't think the cartels in Mexico sent people to the Ukrainian conflict to learn how to operate drones and then ship them back to Mexico, and that's how they operate. Colombia has been producing some of the best international war fighters and mercenaries in the world for the past 3 decades, I think. You'll see them showing up in private military contracting. You'll see them showing up in conflict zones across the globe. And one of the main elements that the international regiments that some of the Ukrainian groups have are Colombian. And when you see a lot of the war fighting aspects of the cartels and some of the technologies and capabilities that they're showcasing, specifically with IEDs, explosives, with some of their weapon selections and maybe some of the ways they operate and patrol, they're all Colombian influence. That's where a lot of their training is coming from, and that's who you see out there in some of these training sites and some of these indoctrination camps that you'll see in places like Jalisco. You'll see Colombians there. You'll hear about Colombians. Yes, there are rumors and stories about American special operators out there doing the work, but a lot of the people that you see actually long-lived who are working with some of these organizations and advancing their capabilities. And I mentioned the New Generation Cartel specifically because there is no other cartel that is at the forefront of technologies like these guys. These guys have, I think they're part of the investigations that were uncovered around the weapons trafficking that has been going on between Europe, North Africa, and Mexico. There were a few lists of procurement items that they wanted, and it is, I mean, if you have a trained eye, you can see what they're looking for. They're looking for surveillance, counter surveillance. They're looking for the capability of deploying multiple drones. So drone swarms is something that they're already kind of like interested in. They're looking for the capacity or the ability to pre-program some of these drone technologies, so they don't have to send a signal to them. They'll just give them a point or a point in space where they can just hone in and go. They're also looking to defend themselves against drones, so they're looking for homing device drones that will basically fly towards an incoming drone and make it explode. They're looking for small arms, support arms. They're looking for the ability to launch projectiles. They're looking for weapon systems that have the integrated optics on them so they can shoot from far away remotely. They're looking, these guys are, they're either gun geeks or really into some of this technology, or they're educated and they have somebody within their organization that is strategically planning things in the context of a future combat space. Um, and and if people are doubting any of that, that's why you're seeing all these wild pictures of these kids in the woods carrying around these anti-drone capable technologies that were just showcased in arms events and arms sales events 2 years ago or a year ago, like new things. They're very much in touch with what is changing and what is coming.
Oh my goodness. So us in the United States have to worry about Colombia, Venezuela, Mexico. Almost like the trifecta right now of drugs and everything else.